Alright, we're going to be talking about volume of spheres and hemispheres in this video. So when we take a look at our formula, we have 4 divided by 3 times pi times r cubed. Okay, so one thing to think about r cubed, right? If I had r squared, that would mean be doing my radius times my radius. So I'm multiplying twice. If I have r cubed, that means I am doing r times r times r. Right? And just for us to get in the habit of plugging it in the calculator, to plug it in the calculator, you need to hit R, you need to hit the little house roof button, and then put in the number 3. All right, that's going to help you enter that into the calculator if you don't do R times R times R. Okay, so when I take a look at my shape, right, a sphere is a 3D circle, right? So it's like a basketball or a baseball. So when I look at this, my radius is 28. They gave that to me. So I just need to take everything I have and plug it into my formula. So I'm going to have 4 divided by 3 times pi times my radius cubed. So I'm going to do 28 raised to the power of 3. All right, so I just want to grab a calculator and show us that we can do this. Sorry. Okay, so when I have a calculator, right, if I'm looking at my calculator, I'm looking at my screen, or am I looking at my keyboard? This is the house that I'm referring to. So if I wanted to do 28 and raise it to the power of 3, I would hit this button. So it would pop up just like this. And now I have the text box for the subscript or superscript. Then I can just put in the number 3 up there, right? That would be me doing the same as 28 times 28 times 28. Okay? So it's just raised to the power of 3. But just to make sure that you know how to input that into the calculator. Okay, so if I plug all of that into the calculator and I round this to the nearest decimal, I'm going to get 91,952.3. We still say this is in feet cubed. So that's my answer, 91,952.3. Right, if I take a look at my next shape here, right, I have a diameter that has been given to me, and I need radius. So if I want to find half of that number, my radius is going to be just 9.9 inches for this question. Okay, so volume is equal to 4 divided by 3 times pi times my radius cubed. So I'm going to do 9.9, raise it to the power of 3. Straight up plug and chug all of these numbers into our calculator. This is a very easy day of notes because all I'm doing is I'm plugging all of these numbers straight into my calculator. The only tricky thing is what just happened, right? If they give me a diameter, I need to use the number for the radius. All right, we'll do one more for spheres, and then we'll talk about hemispheres on the next page real quickly. Our radius here, they gave it to me at 17, so I'm easily just doing 4 divided by 3 times pi times 17 cubed. Now, let's just talk about if I were to say leave this in terms of pi. That means I would be only doing 4 divided by 3 and 17 raised to the power of 3. So if I were to only calculate those numbers, I would get 6,550.7, and then I would attach my pi to that. So if I said leave my answer in terms of pi, this would be my answer. If you needed to input this in as a decimal, all I do is I just calculate that out, and we should get about 20,579.5 yards cubed. Okay, so like I talked about, spheres are very easy in the sense that all you have to do is just identify what is the radius, plug it in. Just be careful that we understand what is r cubed mean. Okay, all right, so let's move to the next page to talk about hemispheres. All right, so if you notice, well, how much of a hemisphere is a compared to a sphere? How much is that in comparison? Well, it's half of that, size. Well, I took the top number, 4, and I cut it in half. So I'm literally doing the exact same thing that we just did, except it's just changed up in my formula. Again, if I want to talk about r cubed, that means that I'm doing r times r times r, and just make sure that you're selecting the roof in your calculator when you plug that in. So if I take a look at my first question, I have 24.6 as my radius, so I can easily plug that in. So I'm going to do volume, which is 2 over 3, times pi, times radius, which is 24.6, cubed. Okay, straight up plug and chug all of this into my calculator, and I'm going to get 31,179.1 inches cubed. All right, we can go to our next one. 20 yards, what is that representing? That is my diameter. So if I need radius, I'm going to take half of this number, right? So draw an arrow, label it diameter, so you understand how did I get 10 if they put 20 on my picture. So my volume formula is 2 divided by 3 times pi times 10 cubed. All right, take all of this again, plug and chug that in my calculator. I get 2,094.4 yards cubed. All right, one more to do. So here, they didn't do anything crazy. They just gave it to me that my radius is 23. So when I take my volume formula, all I have to do is I have to plug in a 23 where the r is to raise it to the power of 3. Round this to the nearest decimal, I should get 25,482.5, and this is going to be in yards cubed. And that's it.